Hi, everybody. Welcome in. It looks like we still have a few folks that are joining us right now. And we're so excited that you could come with us to our Finding Community and Distinctive Programs webinar. We're excited to have people joining from really just all over the US and all over the world, and love that you're considering Gonzaga. My name is Sarah Welchel, and I work as an admission counselor here at the university, and I'm going to be one of your hosts for tonight's webinar. You may have also noticed that you are muted and your video is off, and that's really so that we can cut out any background noise and so that we can record this webinar that can be used later, either for you to view again or for people who missed it. That being said, though, we would love to answer your questions. So throughout this presentation, please feel free to type any questions that you have into the Q&A function, and then we're going to have colleagues answer them or bring them to our attention live at the end of all presentations, but we'll make sure to get through really as many questions as we can. But I have several colleagues that I'd like for you to meet today, and they're going to introduce themselves throughout this presentation. But first, I'm going to pass the mic to Grace. So Grace, could you please introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name's Grace Edwards. I'm also an admission counselor here at Gonzaga. I'll be in the Q&A today, helping to moderate any questions you all have. So thanks for being here.
Perfect. Thanks, Grace. All right, I'm going to go ahead now and share my screen and get that all set up for you. All right, perfect. All right, and we're going to get started with two current students, excuse me, that we have from the Unity Multicultural Education Center.
Hi guys, I'm Mary Kasey and I'm a sophomore here at Gonzaga and I work for UMIC.
Hi all, I'm Aaliyah. I'm a senior here at Gonzaga and I'm one of the social justice programming interns for UMIC.
All right, so here in our office, our purpose is to advocate for underrepresented students and provide experiential learning opportunities for all students in order to create a university community that integrates and values multiple perspectives and cultural narratives. And within our office, we have 3 different pillars. So those are mentoring, social justice programming, and intercultural development. In the mentoring pillar, they work a lot with our first year program, which is Bridge, and then also work with our Unity Scholars and Act 6 Scholars. And then the social justice programming connects students and like the Unity Multicultural Center with outside events and different things like that. And then the intercultural development works with our social justice peer educators.
So another thing about UMIC is that we also oversee UAC, which is the Unity Alliance of Cultural Clubs. And in this last year, we've actually grown a lot more than what you see on the screen. And our cultural clubs continue to grow. Pretty much all of our cultural clubs, they run their own club, but usually around this time, spring semester, now going into fall semester, we have cultural club festivals, which everybody in their club gets together and puts on events, showcases their culture performances through music and dance and whatnot. And then with all of our cultural clubs, we also have meetings, UAC meetings that usually take place in the afternoon on a Friday. And there's a representative from each club that comes together and they kind of discuss on like what's going on in their clubs, if they need support anywhere, if there's any ideas. With UAC, we also do like Cultural Olympics where we have a competition at the end of the year, and it's pretty much all the cultural clubs. It's like a mixer for the cultural clubs, and we get together and we play a bunch of games, but UAC pretty much oversees all our cultural clubs, which is super cool.
All right, and next we're going to transition and we're going to pass it to Jamie Bartlett, who's here representing the Lincoln LGBTQ+ Center in our Transfer Veteran Returning Adult Student and First Generation Center.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, I get to wear 2 hats today. My name's Jamie Bartlett. I use she, her pronouns, and I am going to apologize. You may hear a dog bark, so I'll just pause if that happens, but she's 15, and so we let her do what she wants. So as mentioned, I'm representing the Lincoln LGBTQ Resource Center. We are quite literally down the hall from UMEC. We kind of consider ourselves cousins or siblings or something to that effect. But we can go to the next slide, actually. If you're like me when I took this position at GU or when I was applying, you might be going, a what center at which university? And it's a fair question. So, you know, interestingly, Gonzaga was the first Jesuit university to have a dedicated queer resource center, just beating Georgetown by a few months. So we kind of win on that front. And we're actually coming up on our 20-year anniversary of having a center on campus. And basically, in addition to being a physical space, much like UMEC, we're also a space for support, for mentorship. We have a number of student employees, just like Aaliyah and Mary. And we're basically there as a resource center, as the name implies, for anyone seeking information about identities and expression, whether it be students, faculty, or staff. We'll go to the next slide. I think it shows our programming. Yeah. And basically what you're seeing on this slide is kind of a list of example of programs that we put on throughout the year. So we do a lot of speakers. We invite special speakers to come in. We have a couple coming this month to talk about sports and inclusion. We have our SPEAR program, which is essentially our sort of self-defense training, both mental and physical training for students who identify as part of this community. We have some annual programming, such as our Lavender Mass in the fall and our Lavender graduation in the spring that we've been doing every year. Sorry for the dog. And then we have monthly programming as well, like Out to Lunch with Allies, which our students present at, and Out at GU, which is mostly focused on faculty and staff to get together and network. Last slide for Lincoln Center. And basically, this is ways to get involved. So you can follow our social media, any of the social media things that at GU LGBTQ, you'll find out more about what we do and some of the programming and things that we get involved with. Like I said, we do have student employees, so we hire 4 students per year to work in the center. It's a great space to socialize, get homework done, as well as being part of everything happening. And if you have any further questions specifically about that, feel free to reach out to our email address right there, which is just lgbtq@gonzaga.edu. Okay, so I get to wear a second hat today to help out my colleagues. So then literally down the hall from us is another office we call TV Raz because it's quite the mouthful, as you can see. Basically, this office represents a number of identities. So transfer students who maybe started their career at another institution, our veteran students who obviously are coming from after serving in the military, returning adult students. So, you know, basically some non-traditional age students, as well as our first gen students. So this is an office that's sort of serving a number of different identities and providing services and support. We'll go to the next slide, just basically defining everything that you see there. And we'll go to the next slide after that. So you're probably seeing a theme between these 3 offices that have been talked about so far, but basically all of these offices are providing support, mostly for identities or intersections of identities of folks who maybe feel a little left behind or don't feel like they might fit in on campus. And so for TV Raz, this is another opportunity to find folks who represent identities similar to yourself and maybe provide support for you. So there's also going to be programming centered around all of those different identities, annual events, graduation events, weekly and monthly events for community and networking, things of that nature. You know, we can go in deeper, but basically, if you have interest in any of these specific content, then you can reach out. What you see listed here is the dean, who's actually the dean of all 3 of these offices that have been talked about so far, Joniva Fawcett. But you can also reach out to our social media, which are going to be the same. I don't think they're listed here, but if you look, you'll see social media for a number of these offices as well. So I recommend, if you want to know more, follow those folks there. I think that's all I have to cover. Yeah.
All right, perfect. Thanks, Jamie. And then next up, we have Grace Buchanan. She's a current student who's going to be joining us and talking about the Hogan Entrepreneurial Leadership Program on campus.
Hi, everybody. I'm Grace Buchanan. Like Sarah said, I'm a senior here at Gonzaga, majoring in business administration, concentrating in finance, and then minoring in the Hogan Entrepreneurial Leadership Program. If you want to go to the next slide, please. So Hogan is a minor program that you have to apply for your first year in the fall. Applications are due in October, and academically it focuses obviously on entrepreneurial leadership, but it goes through 3 years. So the first year, sophomore year, you're focusing on working through the business model canvas with a business idea that you and your group develop. And so, for example, I worked on like a financial mentoring platform, and then after the first semester I switched to do a like tech, it was called Tech Connect, and it allowed us to teach older people how to use their phones, like in different retirement communities and whatnot. It's a really good way to just get involved with business, get your hands dirty, but still be in a classroom setting. So feel like you're safe within doing that and you feel supported. Junior year, we jumped to focusing on leadership. So you'll work on this class, which is like with our director of CLP. So Sherry's going to talk about that next. But it's all focusing on leadership, how you get to know yourself better, getting to know your classmates. And then you like work on strategic management. The next semester after that, senior year, you're applying everything you've learned about entrepreneurship and leadership to a semester-long class consulting project. So this year we worked with a group called Christ Kitchen and helped them build out a new job training matrix for women in need. So that was a really, really cool opportunity to feel like I've helped the Spokane community in one way. And then that last semester you have this semester, we're doing ethics and focusing on how entrepreneurship can be ethical and what we can do with the power that entrepreneurship has. Outside of the academic class, because you are in a cohort program, you are in group projects with really driven students. So I was really interested in Hogan when I was looking at schools because I was always the one that did the class projects, like the entire class project in my high school class. So this was really helpful for me to be like, okay, I want to be around driven students that also probably did their entire high school class project, that are inspired to learn more about themselves, the community around them, get involved. And once again, like what you put into this program is what you get out. So I've loved it. I've built a really, really good community. Some more details that I probably should have put on the slides, but applications, like I said, are due October 1st. 50 applicants are brought to interviews, 25 are taken for each cohort. This major is open, or this minor is open to all majors, so business and non-business alike. Non-business majors that are wanting to be in the Hogan Entrepreneurial Leadership Program will have to take 2 credits or 2 classes, accounting and an econ class, just to get more acquainted with the business world in that sense. And there's $1,000 scholarship per year, sophomore, junior, and senior year, the years you're actually in the program. So yeah, thanks so much.
Awesome. Thank you, Grace. All right, next up, we have Sherry joining us here with the Comprehensive Leadership Program.
Hi, I am Sherry Lynch. I am the Assistant Dean in the School of Leadership Studies. And we in the School of Leadership Studies believe that leadership is for everyone. So we have a couple of different programs. You just heard about the Hogan Entrepreneurial Leadership, and the Comprehensive Leadership Program is the leadership program for the School of Leadership Studies at the undergrad level. It is one that is very similar in some ways to the Hogan, but also different in some ways. So we can go ahead and go to the next slide, and we'll dive into a little bit about what it is. So very much like Hogan, this is an academic program, and it's one that begins in the freshman year. So students apply for it early in their freshman year. We have a round of interviews. It's an application process and interviews, and we take about 44 students every year. It is a somewhat competitive program, but once students are in it, they actually begin taking classes in spring of their freshman year. I teach the freshmen in spring semester. I teach one cohort of students, and then my counterpart Josh teaches the second cohort. And then those 2 classes get mixed up quite a bit in their following 3 years. And so they don't stay in that same cohort model, but they have a chance to work with a lot of different leaders. And these are leaders from all over campus, because as I mentioned, we believe that there isn't one style of leadership. And so these students are coming from a variety of majors. They're not just all from the School of Leadership Studies. They're coming from majors from all over campus, really. And so in your classes, students are with anywhere from, engineers to future doctors to accounting and business majors. They're really from all over a variety of areas of campus. So that freshman year, we focus on the foundations of leadership, and it's really a self-reflection of what do I believe as a leader and what is my leader identity? In the sophomore year, we dive into theories of leadership, organizational theories, and then also the practice of leadership. So looking at things like team building and emotional intelligence and really building a capacity to lead. In the junior year, there's one course, and it can be taken either in the spring or the fall, which allows students the ability to study abroad if they would like to. And that leading across cultures goes hand in hand with the study abroad that many students choose to do. And then in the senior year, we bring all the students back together, and Josh teaches that final cohort. And it's in the fall of the senior year. All students take contemporary issues in leadership. And it's really the capstone course that encapsulates everything that they've learned throughout their 3.5 years in the program. And students walk away with a minor in leadership studies. We can go ahead and go to the next page. There are a variety of community building activities that we do within CLP as well. Everything from undergraduate case studies at the International Leadership Association. We've had students participate in this particular conference probably for the better part of the last 10 or 15 years, and they often place either first or second, always near the top. And it's a great opportunity for them to showcase what they're learning in the classroom. We also do community events such as Story Slam, which is open to students outside of CLP. So even if students aren't in the CLP program and they're getting academic credit for leadership, they have opportunities like Story Slam where they can come and be a part of that community building and stretching and connecting and really sharing their authentic stories with each other. There's a study abroad in Zambezi, Zambia that happens every summer. It's a 6-week study abroad program that really focuses on the art of leadership and accompaniment, really meeting people where they are and not going in to necessarily save a community, but to walk alongside them as they work to better themselves. And then, of course, we have folks from all different walks of life that have gone through the CLP program who are now out in the world representing us and Gonzaga so well, like Caitlin Bailey, who is at the Seattle Sounders football club. And then on campus, we have our GSBA president and vice president who are CLP students as well. And outside of those that are in formal leadership positions, we are so proud of our community. And we have some really great students that are just making an impact personally and professionally on and off campus. Next slide. Oh, that was it. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Sherry. All right, next up, we have the Center for Community Engagement.
Hi, everybody. First, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's really great to be here with you all. My name is Phoebe Osterheis. I'm an assistant director at the Center for Community Engagement. And next slide, please. So the Center for Community Engagement, we provide experiences that allow students to hone their intellectual, physical, spiritual, and emotional gifts. So all those great things that you see in the Gonzaga mission statement in service for the common good. Through these experiences, students will grow in their understanding of complex societal issues. You'll have the desire and ability to challenge oppression in your own communities and seek solidarity with those impacted by injustice. So what that means is that we facilitate a whole bunch of different ways for Gonzaga students to engage in the Spokane community. And how do we do that? If you want to go to the next slide. So we run about 21 different service programs through our office. Those programs touch on all kinds of different issue areas. We have a number of programs that pair GU students with youth in the Spokane school system for mentorship programs, both individual and group mentoring around different kinds of frameworks to build those relationships. We have the ZAG Volunteer Corps program, which is a cohort program where groups of GU students volunteer with local nonprofits, doing sometimes project-based work and sometimes just filling in some gaps for nonprofit organizations. So those are cohort-based, and they're either semester or full year. We have a great program called GUSR, which pairs GU students with adults in the Spokane community who have developmental and intellectual disabilities. That program is really about building relationships and breaking down stigmas. We offer an immersion program that digs into the issue of immigration. That program is called Justice in January, and it is partnered with a 1-credit course. So students participate in the course starting in the fall semester, and then over winter break, you travel to, we've done Nogales, and we've done San Diego, and we've done El Paso, so border communities, and kind of dig into the immigration issue from all different angles, working with Border Patrol, working with migrant organizations, all kinds of different ways that to really immerse in that issue and get a deep understanding. We have a campus kitchens program, which tackles the issue of food waste here on campus. So they repurpose all of the leftover food from all the dining facilities and use it to sponsor some community meals. We have about 80 student leaders who lead those programs. So there's lots of leadership opportunities here. We each year do about 100-ish sections of community engaged learning courses. So we partner with faculty members to include a service component in their curriculum. So a class might be in the School of Education and you would volunteer in one of our youth programs and use the knowledge that you gain working in that program in your coursework and vice versa. We have about 40 student employees in our office, both that is students who work within our offices to support the programs. We also have a program called the Wolf Fellowship, which places students with nonprofit organizations for project-based work. So we had a student who did a project with Priority Spokane, which was a tool to recognize mental health challenges in the community. So that student was able to help develop this amazing tool during the pandemic that is now serving the Spokane community. Each year we do between 50,000 and 60,000 hours of service in the community. And we engage between 2,000 and 2,500 student volunteers each year. And you can go to the next slide. And this is just a little video snapshot of what we do.
CCE to me is a place where people from different identities and different groups can come together in a space that's like welcoming to everyone.
CCE has programs that are thoughtfully crafted for ZAGs to learn how to be active members and participants of a community outside of campus.
We're able to take what we're learning in the classroom out into the community, and I think it's really important because it's a constant process of learning, action, reflection, and I think it's a really good way to learn more about yourself, learn more about your community, and to build a lot of skills like relationship building, leadership, teamwork.
It's developed me in a holistic way that I don't think just school or something else would have done without CCE being there for me.
It really laid the foundation for me and helped cultivate a lot of skills that I use both professionally and in my personal life. The programs within CCE has taught me adaptability, compassion, tenacity, courage, all of these things that I use every day working with our community in Spokane.
Definitely utilize CCE. It's there to support you, to guide you, to grow as a leader, and to grow in your understanding of your community. CCE has really transformed my experience at Gonzaga, and I think it can really help transform yours as well.
So essentially, our hope for all of the students who are engaged with our programs is that they find spaces of community, not only within like the Gonzaga community, but also within the broader Spokane community.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Phoebe. All right, next up, we have University Ministry that's going to be presented by Meredith.
Hello, my name is Meredith McKay, and much like Jamie, I should warn you that I might have a dog in the background at some point if she decides she wants to bark at something. So I am the director of University Ministry at Gonzaga, and when we talk about educating students as whole people, mind, body, spirit, our office is really the office that is in charge of kind of the spirit side of things. So while Gonzaga is a Catholic university, one of the things that we talk about with Catholic universities is that we know that not everybody that comes through our doors is Catholic, and actually that's a really great part of who we are. And so we love getting to know people in their unique experiences of faith or lack thereof, and being able to support them along the journey. So I think we can go to my first slide. Perfect. So we have kind of two main areas that we talk about when we talk about the work that our office does. And I'm going to start with the one on the bottom, individual support and companionship. So we have a team of campus ministers that work in our office whose work really is just focused on college students. And sometimes that is things like having faith-based conversations and talking about questions of God and life and suffering and things like that. But it's also sometimes just getting to know people and having somebody to walk with you in your journey. And we have people kind of from a whole bunch of different backgrounds themselves who then can meet students in different backgrounds and be able to have conversations and just be a person to walk with along the way. And then on the program and experience side of things, one of the main things that our office is in charge of is big university-wide liturgies. As a Jesuit university, we always start the year with something called the Mass of the Holy Spirit, which is a thing that all Jesuit schools do to observe and invite the Holy Spirit to be present with us in the academic year. But we also have regular and ongoing programs like weekly Mass, daily Mass, but then we also have non-Catholic praise and worship opportunities. We have small groups that people can get involved in. We often do small groups for first-year students, particularly that our goal really is to start you off in your first year and hopefully have you with a group to walk along the way through potentially all 4 years if that's something you're interested in. And then what we are probably most known for is retreats. So we have a retreat house called Bozarth Mansion that's north of Spokane that we get to use for our retreats. And we do things like we have something called Embark, which is a before move-in weekend retreat for incoming first-year students. But we also have Fresh Retreat for first-year students, a wilderness retreat where folks go camping, women's retreat, men's retreat. I run our Search Retreat, which is for juniors and seniors. And these are all opportunities to kind of explore faith and questions of spirituality in community. So those are really the kind of the main things that we do. And then I think I have one more slide. Yeah, so those are really just kind of an example of what I was already talking about. But one thing that I would say with that is while we have all these programs and while we have these one-on-one conversations, a huge part of the work that our office does is just to build community around campus. And so we're pretty well known in our office for when people walk in, there's like a Settlers of Catan game going on, or maybe Nerds, the card game, and students just hanging out. Right now we have a March Madness themed puzzle that people are working on. And so kind of just building that community and getting people to have some experience, particularly with the spiritual side of things, while also like just being their whole selves. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Meredith. All right. And then finally, we have Dave Gilbert, who's going to be joining us for the Center for Student Involvement on campus.
Hi, everybody. My name is Dave Gilbert. I'm the director for the Center of Student Involvement. Coming to you from my deck on a beautiful, beautiful spring evening here in Spokane. Center for Student Involvement is made up of a bunch of different programs that are really driven and run by students, similar to a lot of what we've been talking about tonight. Clubs and orgs, the student government, our Friday and Saturday night programming, which we call Spike Nights, as well as the yearbook and the newspaper and the sort of journals piece. So those things make up student media. So The clubs and orgs is a really, really active, vital part of Gonzaga. We have about 118 undergraduate clubs. The last time I checked, clubs are sort of fading out, and new clubs are being started all the time. So if there's something you're passionate about, and you can get a group of friends or colleagues that are excited about getting in with it, you can start a new club for something that you're excited or passionate about. Clubs run the gamut. So we have academic honor societies that can be part of that, awareness, political sort of activism type clubs. We have career and professional clubs for specific majors or specific um, jobs that folks want to go into after graduating. Club sports. So almost every varsity sport that we have at Gonzaga has a club counterpart, which is run by students, but still competitive. They still travel, but they're supported by the students on the team, and they kind of get to run that themselves. We have community and volunteer outreach type clubs, cultural clubs, which are made up of either cultural or religious or other groups that folks want to gather and share that with each other as well as with the wider Gonzaga community. And then we have some performance, visual arts, fine arts, and some religious clubs too, which sort of fit with the cultural clubs and are also sort of a slightly separate thing. Um, the average Gonzaga student is involved with 2 clubs on average. So a lot of times that means starting out by sort of attending and just being a part of a club, and then often students will go on to take on a leadership role within those clubs. One specific club to highlight, being that it is April or just past March, the Kennel Club is our largest club on campus. It's the athletics kind of support club. You'll see them at the televised men's and women's basketball games, but they're also at a lot of other sports, supporting those teams and getting other students kind of hyped to show up there. Uh, so student government is comprised of about 60 students, about half of which are elected, and the other half are appointed. We have the Senate that oversees a lot of the sort of direction setting for the for the students, kind of the way that they speak to the university and the way that they share the way both the student fee money should be spent, as well as just sort of generally providing feedback to the university. Those are elected. There's about 25 of them. And then the executive side is doing all kinds of different things in support of students and the university. So there's weekend programming, there's a DEI part of it, there's a sustainability part of it, and a marketing arm. There's folks that put on concerts. So really, really neat student-driven part of the university. Student media, like I said, is another great place for students to get involved. They put out a yearbook every year. It's neat. It's been evolving over the last 5 or 6 years. So a really cool opportunity to kind of make a book, a creative thing, put your stamp on it, and share kind of the history of the year. Um, Really neat, and a cool fresh kind of yearbook thing where they're doing something slightly different every year, which is really, really fun. And then we have a newspaper as well. Currently, the newspaper is printed every other week. And then on the off weeks, there's an online edition that comes out. So we still have a print newspaper, which is getting rarer and rarer, but something that we've been holding on to and are really excited about. Positions for student editors, all the way up to editor in chief, photographers, writers, um, copy editors, and then there's also ad sales as part of that. So all the ads that are sold in the yearbook and the newspaper are actually sold by students, which is a tough job, but a really cool way to get involved. There's over 80 students that contribute to those publications over the course of a school year. So really cool. Spike Nights is our Friday and Saturday night programming. At Gonzaga, we kind of focus on a activity model, a participation model. Sometimes we do things where students just get to go and observe, like a hockey game or uh, a baseball, like a local baseball game. But a lot of it is stuff you can do. So it's things like a Nerf war or a silent disco or a painting pottery, um, potting plants. You get to take the plants home with you. It's a lot of stuff like that. So it's something you can come in on Friday, Saturday night and actually do something, chat with your friends, hang out. And we do it every single weekend that isn't a holiday. So every weekend you can reliably come and find something really, really fun to do. And that's actually also something that's run by students. So we have a team of about 10 students that that put that together every weekend, so that students have something really fun to go and do. One other thing I want to touch on before I close is the importance of involvement. Now, these are great opportunities that students can get involved with and contribute to and really drive forward in a lot of cases. And it might feel like those are things that are going to take away from some other aspect of students' college experience. But the reality is that's just not true. Our research has really shown that um, students who participate and get involved in any of these programs you've heard about tonight do better in school. They report stronger friendships. They report feeling a stronger sense of belonging at a university. They tend to graduate on time, which might even feel a little counterintuitive. But these opportunities to go and do something fun and engaging really helps tie students to university and helps them feel great about the time that they spend there. So, yeah, thanks for listening to me talk for a little bit.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dave. All right, we are going to transition now into a Q&A session. So please feel free to use that function down below and ask any questions that you might have for our current campus partners and our current students. But I'm now going to pass it to Grace Edwards. Grace, do you see any questions that might be helpful to answer out loud?
Yeah, I see a couple, and they are for Dave. So Dave, if you turn your camera back on. The first one is, how do students get involved in yearbook in the newspaper? And is it operated through an academic department as well?
Yeah, I'll answer the second part first. We do have academic colleagues. It's a student affairs program, but the newspaper advisor for sure is a journalism professor. And then I think the yearbook advisor, I think they're kind of co-advisors. So one is the student affairs professional, and then I think there's somebody that's in um, maybe a communication arts kind of position as a faculty member. So we do have lots of connections with faculty. Also, some students will write articles for their journalism class and then submit them to the newspaper to be published. So there's a relationship there between academics and the actual newspaper. The best way to get involved is to just either go find them at the club fair, because even though they're not a club, they typically have a table at the club fair. And their office is on the fourth floor of College Hall. And you can head up there and just pop in and say, "Hey Joanne, hey Morgan, I'm Pete, and I'm really excited about getting involved with journalism." And they can talk with you about the best way to go and apply. But I would do it that first week or two of your freshman year, um, when there's just tons of energy to go and check those things out.
Sweet. Yeah, good answer. Next question, also for you. Through the Kennel Club, could I apply to be a mascot?
Mascots are through the athletics department.
Okay.
They are not actually a function of the Kennel Club. Um, But yes, you should go and pursue that. It's a really kind of prestigious thing, and it's kept secret. So it's kind of fun late in people's college careers when they sort of reveal that they've been the mascot. There's more than one. Typically at Gonzaga, we have several because it's a big job. Um, but yeah, so I talked to somebody in athletics. Actually, I can't think of the front desk lady's name right now, but she's extremely nice. And if you just popped into the athletics department and said, "Hey, I'm interested in being the mascot," she would talk with you about that.
Melanie in the front desk.
There you go, Melanie, right.
All right, talk to Melanie. Thanks. Let's see, what else? All right, what opportunities are there for dance clubs? Sorry, Dave.
No. I mean, I love it. I've tried to take up a lot of time. There are several dance clubs on campus. So there's a dance team that is maybe more traditionally what folks think of as like a sort of a dance program club team. Um, that's a club that's through our office in CSI, but also connected with the dance major and program, a lot of support and access to the dance studio and things like that. There's also the Bomb Squad, which is a little bit, I think, a little bit more fun, a little bit more hip hop and all comers, and typically a bigger team. And so, um, parallel, slightly different tracks, slightly different attitude, I would say. Also great. And then there has been one other dance club that's actually a little bit more fitness focused and sort of really truly all comers. They don't do tryouts. You don't have to make the squad or anything like that. And it's more like dance as an activity and as a fitness thing and as just a fun thing. I forget the name of that specific club actually because it's changed recently. But yeah, there's at least 3 dance teams. And then of course cheer too, which is not a club. Cheer's part of athletics, but again, different but related.
Cool.
And then we do have
There's-
dance as a program, as an academic program, of course, too. So
That's true. Is there a theater or improv club?
there's
Meredith?
yes, Meredith.
I can answer that. I was in it in college.
Hey.
It's called Gonzaga University Theater Sports. It's an improv club. And a big thing that's notable, I think, about it is that you don't have to try out or like make the team. It's very much like anybody can come to practice and then you kind of just get joined in and can be in shows after kind of being at practice for a while. And there isn't necessarily a theater club, but there are productions that people who aren't theater majors can get involved in as well, both musicals and regular plays. Hopefully that helps. I figured I'd jump in since I did it.
Yeah, I'm glad you did. Cool. Let's see. All right, this is a good one. How do students choose between Hogan and the leadership program, CLP? Would one be better suited for a student looking to attend law school? So yeah, Grace and Sherry, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think either program is great. I will say Hogan has a bit more of a business focus. And there's a bit more of a competitive aspect in there as you're presenting with your peers. And we have an aspect of it where 3-4 times a semester you're presenting, you're grading each other, you're giving critical feedback. It's all very supportive, but there is that competitive edge to it. From my friends that are in CLP, I haven't heard that same aspect of it. I would say that's probably the biggest difference other than the business part. But yeah, Sherry, what would you say?
Yeah, that's a really great analogy. I do think that one of the wonderful things about CLP is that we have folks from all over campus, and we do have a lot of students that are pre-law, maybe like journalism majors, and really having the ability to know thyself in order to be the best leader in whatever industry one chooses. And I think that can span a whole lot of different things, regardless of where somebody decides to go and what they decide to do with their life, including law school. I would hope that we have good leadership in all different industries and aspects, all levels of organizations. And that's really what CLP is doing, is trying to hone those individual leadership skills and the individual identity of how we see ourselves as leaders and becoming that and leaning into that person.
Absolutely. Thank you both. Sarah, you seen any you want to call attention to?
Yeah, so we have a couple questions that are kind of framed around the theme of why Gonzaga. And so I would love to just hear from a couple current students or any faculty members that really want to chip in, like what is your why behind Gonzaga and just the Gonzaga community?
I can start on this one. I'm a tour guide, so this is how I end every one of my tours. And I think the question is why you come. And for a lot of people, it's community. It could be you got the best scholarship here. It could be that has a certain academic program I like. I think that why is a little bit different for everybody. I know community is a really common theme for a lot of people. I think the important part of that question is why do you stay when it gets hard? And the answer to that question tends to be community as well. So that's been really true for me here at school. Like I started freshman year, not a lot of people are on campus. We were the class of COVID. I really had no idea what Gonzaga was like. We have a great basketball team that I had never seen play until sophomore year. I wasn't exposed to a lot of things until later in college, sophomore, junior, senior year. But the community that I found starting freshman year only grew and only got more supportive over time. So that's been my why. And when I started looking at colleges, I was like, oh, I'm social. I can talk to a lot of people, but I found that the size of Gonzaga really helped me as well. So peers and professors alike made it really easy to connect with people. and find that my peers and professors want to connect with me as well.
I absolutely second everything that Grace just said. I myself am a staff member here at Gonzaga, but I'm also a 3-time alum and I'm a Gonzaga parent. And so I have a lot of different roles that I play at Gonzaga. And one of my most famous and really beloved things that I love seeing every time I walk into College Hall, there's a quote, and I am not going to say it word for word because I'm probably going to slaughter it, but it's from a Jesuit, and it is something to the effect of, the true measure of our students isn't what we teach them, but it's who they become. And I think that's something that we are really good about at Gonzaga, is developing people. And as Grace alluded to, it's everything from creating a community to people to nurturing them along the way and making sure that they continue to remain connected to Gonzaga throughout their lifetime. And I think that's something that I personally am really proud of that we do well at Gonzaga.
Okay. We can also speak on that. I was like, that was really good. I think for me, so when I first came to Gonzaga, like I came because of Act 6. I didn't really know Gonzaga, and I'm from Tacoma, so like just on the other side of the state. But like going back to like the reason why I stayed, I was also part of the COVID class, so it was like a ghost town. Essentially, like it really was a ghost town. Didn't really know anybody, but I did meet my 2 best friends my freshman year and been really tight since. But over the years, like the community that I've gained here at Gonzaga has not always been the same. It's always shifted, but the community that I find has often aligned with who I'm becoming. And so I've always felt like I've found support in some way. And then I worked in UMEC the last 3 years, and I get to work with great people, Mary being one of them. We're both Act 6 scholars, but we also get to work in UMEC together, and just like the environment that the community creates has been really fruitful. I've gotten to step into a lot of things that I never thought I would dive deep into. So one being spoken word, being a part of Diversity Monologues, which is an annual event. Never thought I'd be performing on a stage. Photography, I market for UMEC also. So I've gotten to build a whole lot of skills here. But yeah, the community, very much love the community, and I've also grown a lot in faith since being here. And so that was also a really big thing for me, is being reconnected with faith and like having a church on campus that I can go to, and being connected through like CLC and like being in a POC group and talk about faith to like with other POC women has been really helpful too while my time here.
Yeah, that was really good, guys. You guys are killing it. Kind of similar. I was Act 6, so I kind of came to GU because of the scholarship. But I did bridge my freshman year, like which is the pre-orientation program I talked about earlier, and I met some of like my greatest friends in that program, and now I live with like 2 of them, and I just feel like in the 2 years that I've been at Gonzaga, I feel like all the people I've met and the community that I've built is just really nice and amazing, and just really nice to have. And they're all really supportive. I also think it's really easy to get involved in different areas and like programs or clubs or whatever on campus, which is really nice because everyone really does want you to thrive, and everyone really does want you to help or want to help you. So it's just really nice to be here and have that.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing those. That was really helpful. I don't think I'm missing anyone else on that one, but if I am, feel free to interrupt me. I see another good one in here. This might be directed a little bit toward Meredith, but maybe anybody is free to answer. But could you speak a little bit more to what it's like attending a Jesuit school, but as a religious person versus a non-religious person, really finding your community in that sense, regardless of how a student identifies?
Totally. And I will say I'm looking at this question, and I'm also speaking from obviously the perspective of somebody who works in the ministry office. So feel free to jump in if anybody else has a different thought. But something that I would say is we know that our statistics right now say that our students at Gonzaga are maybe 33% Catholic, and then maybe like an additional 20% Christian. But we also have Jewish students and Muslim students and Baha'i students. We really have representation from pretty much any noted major world religion that you could think of. And what I would say is that the Jesuit way of educating, it's going to show up, right? There's crucifixes in the classroom. There are masses that we do as an institution. We're very much a Catholic institution, and that shows up in the history and the roots of how we do things. But the Jesuit way of educating invites you to think about like, who am I and what's my context? And that's the starting place. So we're always saying like, whatever that is, we want you to be able to bring it, and we want you to feel welcome to share of yourself in that. And then growing from there and being invited to think about like, what am I learning about myself, and what are my values, and what are the things that guide me? And that's kind of the way of proceeding in the classroom. So I think I find people are able to kind of jump in from their own experience, whether that's religious or not. And then the other thing that I will say with that too is I think that we're in Spokane, which is the Pacific Northwest is historically unchurched, which means that there's a lot of people who just aren't religious around, both around our campus community, but then the wider Spokane community. And so there is kind of access points for people coming from a variety of different backgrounds. And there's a significant number of students who are somewhere in the atheist, agnostic, non-religious category as well.
I can add on a little bit from the student perspective. Everything Meredith said, spot on, totally support it. I know when I was looking at schools, I didn't go to private or religious high schools growing up at all. I went to public school my whole life. I wasn't raised religious. When I was looking at schools, I really did fall in love with the Jesuit ideology and mindset because of their commitment to the human good, community, cura personalis, social. It's all in our mission statement that's just blanking me right now, but all the great things that we all love about Gonzaga. And I think those values, whether you're religious or not, speak to everybody, and that's what makes Gonzaga really special. We do have 2 required religion classes, and those can be like really as broad or as narrow as you want. One of them is in world comparative religions, and one of them is in Christian Catholic traditions. So that's the only time you're ever going to have to interact with religion. But if you want to, we like use the metaphor of religion is a door. If you want to open it and go in it, go ahead. And if you don't want to and you want to keep it closed, like all good. I have friends who are raised Catholic, still Catholic. I have friends that were never religious and don't want to be religious. And everyone fits in and finds a way to love each other and get along. And it's been great to have both ends of that spectrum here at school. And yeah, I think Aaliyah mentioned like she's been able to go on a faith journey here, and then other students, if they don't want to take it, they don't have to. So really opportunities for everybody.
Awesome. In the Office of Admission, we like to say religion is an invitation, not an obligation. Let's see, we have another question that anyone might answer, lots of different answers to this. It's just, what do students do over the weekends usually? Kind of a broad question, but maybe our current students can answer it.
I can answer this one now. As a senior, I'm a grandma on the weekends and I love it so much. As soon as we got out of COVID, the weekends were very busy being with friends. But there's also like spike nights. So I've gone to like a few bingo nights, and the bingo prizes go crazy. There's like air fryers, vacuums, Nintendo Switches. And so like going to like bingo nights were really cool. Yeah, there's also massage nights, which is crazy. Like there's a lot of good like spike nights that you can go to if if you're feeling a little bit more like you don't want to go out or anything. But at least for my sophomore and junior year, like pretty much hanging out with friends, like getting out of that COVID slump. But my senior year, I'm pretty much like movie nights, like with friends, just having like smaller gatherings in my own place. Honestly, like getting out of like social pressures and whatnot, like there's a lot of social pressures in college to like want to go out, want to do this, like you have to constantly be moving. Weekends are also for rest. which is something that I've learned. And I wish like going into college for like wherever you go, weekends can very much be for rest and taking care of yourself, and like doing things for you. And so that's really what I do on the weekends now is I definitely take a day of like doing my laundry, sitting down, doing a face mask. If sometimes Spike Nights do have face masks, but if they're not providing it, I will provide myself some. But yeah, very much shouting out Spike Nights because it's cool.
Yeah, also can speak to that. I feel like freshman year I came in and I was expecting a lot and I was just doing a lot, and I feel like there's a lot to do at GU on a weekend. And so like you get really wrapped up in the idea that you have to be at everything and do everything. But this year as a sophomore, I'm much more like reserved, spending time in my room a lot more. And also, if you're not into Spike Nights, there's usually like a lot of different campus programs happening, or like, you know, just pulling people together and doing a little game night or something like that. So
And I also want to point out, like on weekends, like during the day too, we get a free pass on the bus. So I've taken like the public transportation, and you can like make your way around downtown, Spokane. You can go to Riverfront and go up to Manitou Park. Like there's a lot of things that you could go. And like with the our ZAG card is what you swipe and is free transportation. And so there's a whole lot of things that you can do. It's just like getting out of your comfort zone.
One of the other things that I might add to that is that in the CLP community, we have several students who come from other parts of the United States and parts of the world. And I saw someone ask this in the Q&A, what do those students do when we have long weekends and we have vacations, and what's the atmosphere like on campus? I have noticed we just had a 40 weekend for the Easter break, and many CLP students who live far away actually went home with the students who live nearby, whether it was Seattle or maybe somewhere in Northern California. And I loved it because I got to see on Instagram all of the fun that they were having, and they were just welcomed into the new community that they had built for themselves. And so I think that's one of the plugs for really diving in and making a community for yourself, so that if you are someone that's from far away, you have a place to go and you have places that you can explore without going home. So I just wanted to add that.
I can add a little bit more. I was someone who grew up loving the outdoors, and that was a big draw for Spokane for me. So in the winter, we have like 5 ski resorts in a 2-hour radius. We have a ski and snowboard club. I think GSBA will host some events to get students, or Gonzaga Outdoors, sorry, will host different buses or shuttles to get students up to the mountain. If you're into skiing and snowboarding, GU Outdoors also does like a ton of hikes around the Spokane area. Just honestly, our campus is a 20-minute walk from downtown Spokane and the Riverfront Park, which I think both Aaliyah and Mary mentioned, and they are gorgeous. Like I walk on that a few times a week for my own mental health, to connect with my friends, to call my mom. Like that trail has seen me through a lot of things. So Spokane is just beautiful to be a part of, and a lot of times students are just wanting to get outside, connect. It's gorgeous here today. I think I saw like half of our campus sitting outside on the lawns, hanging out in hammocks, doing homework in the sunshine, reading, trying to get whatever they can done without being so distracted. Yes, thank you, Dave. Thank you. So yeah, I think there is also that drive to get outside and connect with friends, if it's skiing, hiking, snowboarding, sledding on campus, really whatever it may be.
Awesome. Good answers, everyone. I think we have time for one final quick question, because there were so many questions about like which specific clubs we have. Does anyone know where students can find a list of clubs, or where they can search up to see if clubs exist at Gonzaga?
I think you can find it on the CSI website. And I also think that the front page of Zagtivities, I think you can see some of Zagtivities without being logged in. So Zagtivities is sort of the hub for clubs and events on campus. It's where clubs put in purchase requests. It's where they originally create their club and update their rosters. And it's also where they post their events. So you can go in there and see kind of what events are coming up. And you can also see a lot of the clubs that are available on campus. Some are not super visible because maybe they're sort of on pause or they're coming back or whatever. But yeah, I would go to Zag activities. It's like activities, but we took that middle part of Gonzaga. You see what we did there? Zag activities. Yeah, check it out.
Awesome. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you guys so much for that. We're now transitioning into our last agenda item for the night, which is, as promised in the communications, our Zag Swag raffle. So if you see your name listed on here, please go ahead. Your chat function should be enabled now, and send me a chat message with your t-shirt size before you leave the Zoom today so that we can get those sent to you. But other than that, thank you so much for attending our session today, and just a huge thanks to all of our campus partners and current students that were able to join us. Again, if you have any questions or concerns just moving into the next couple months, please feel free to reach out to your admission counselor and we can help talk through those processes further. But have a great evening.